Welcome back to Taro Shovelware, my name's Luke, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at Steel Assault, a retro-styled hack-and-slash platformer which has you punching, whipping and zipping your way through a post-apocalyptic America on a revenge mission against a sinister dictator. Now if you're a fan of classic platformers like Strider or Bionic Commando, then you're in for a real treat with this one, so hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date with all my latest content, and let's get into it. So the story of Steel Assault is a classic tale of revenge, and while it doesn't have a huge role to play in the game, which is really just all about the action, it does set the scene for us with a fantastic opening cutscene. Now the game sees you playing as Resistance fighter Taro Takahashi, who is on a mission to take down General Magnus Pierce, an evil dictator who now rules over post-apocalyptic America alongside his band of cronies. With support from his allies though, Taro must fight his way across the American wasteland through legions of futuristic troops and each of the general's subordinates before facing off against the general himself in a final epic battle. Now it's all pretty standard stuff to be honest, but the narrative fits well with the game's themes, and there's no real need to get bogged down with a plot line when you're just here for the action. So when it comes to gameplay, Steel Assault takes things back to the 90s, with a classy 16-bit aesthetic, optional CRT TV filter and a whole lot of action and platforming, and the game sees you fighting your way through 5 stages full of enemies, each of which culminates in a final end of level boss fight. The control scheme for the game is also pretty much your standard platformer setup, with the movement handled by the D-pad or left thumbstick, jumps performed with the B button which in conjunction with the down button performs a slide manoeuvre providing some iframes, and similar to 1989's Strider, Taro is equipped with a melee weapon in the form of a whip with which he can attack in 8 different directions, and he can also use it to destroy enemy projectiles. Now in addition to these you also have a unique grappling hook at your disposal which can be used to create ropes for you to climb and hang on to, and the developers have creatively implemented the use of this grappling hook into both the level designs and boss battles. What I will say though is that it does take a little getting used to, as both your weapon and grappling hook are aimed with the right thumbstick, and to create horizontal lines it's best to let the thumbstick return to the neutral position, which can be a little tricky to start with. Now when it comes to the level design in Steel Assault, the developers have embraced all the classic nuances of the genre, and they do stay faithful to the retro platformers of the 90s. You'll generally be working your way through levels from left to right, though there are low and high routes through several levels and plenty of sections requiring vertical movement with a grappling hook, and it's clear that many of the more unique sections were inspired by other titles, one of my favourites being a part where you're assaulting a battleship, where the gameplay mechanics feel very much like Sonic 2's Sky Chase Zone. Now throughout these levels you'll encounter a wide variety of enemies, from standard foot soldiers and futuristic robot dogs and drones, to huge sub-bosses and end-of-level boss fights, and each of these enemies presents their own challenge, especially the bosses, which have their own unique attack patterns for you to master, and which I failed to defeat miserably on more than one occasion. Now you do find a decent amount of pickups in levels which offer health boosts and shields or cause your whip to fire a trio of projectiles, but even on easy mode the game itself offers a significant challenge as you're constantly on the move, grappling from one location to the next and dodging between enemy gunfire. The good thing for people like me though is that Steel Assault actually has 2 game modes, the first being a story mode where death means starting over from a checkpoint, or for the hardcore veterans amongst us, arcade mode gives you a single life to play with, and death means game over. In all though I have to say that I was very impressed with Steel Assault's level design, enemy variety and the overall quality of its gameplay, and while I have kept my summarisation of the game's features brief as to not spoil too much of what the game has to offer, I have no doubt that fans of the genre will have a great time playing, especially if they're looking for a challenge. So on the visual side of things, I think it goes without saying that the game looks absolutely fantastic, and the game features some of the best pixel art that I've seen in a long time. The detail on both the environments and enemies is great, I love the game's short animated intro, and I thought the character cards which appear each time you face off against a boss were a nice little touch. Audio wise, again the game sounds amazing, the sound effects are all great, and from the second the intro music kicks in, you know you're in for a treat with this one. The awesome soundtrack features some high tempo beats which really match the pace of the game and have a great retro vibe to them, and in the sound settings you can even switch to an FM arranged OST which strips back the more modern aspects of the music for a more authentic version of the soundtrack. So on the performance and issues side of things, there really is very little that I can criticise about Steel Assault. Performance wise, the game handles great on the Switch, and I did find this rather surprising considering the level of detail and large number of explosions, enemies and projectiles which populate the screen at any one time. When it comes to issues, like I said, getting used to the grappling hook can be a little tricky, and due to the fast paced nature of the game, you'll likely find yourself falling to your death a lot when you first start playing. The only other thing that I have a minor gripe about is the lack of variety when it comes to your character's arsenal, and it would have been good to have had a couple of different weapons to choose from just to add a little bit more variety to combat, though there are a couple of occasions when you get to man stationary machine guns which does somewhat make up for it. All in all though, Steel Assault is an absolute blast to play from start to finish, and it's definitely up there with my favourite platformers on the Switch. When it comes to my own personal rating, I'm going to be giving Steel Assault 5 out of 5 stars. For me, Steel Assault is a must play for anyone who's a fan of retro platformers. It looks great, sounds great, plays great, and its multiple difficulty settings means the game will no doubt offer a challenge for players of all skill levels. And so that just about wraps up this review of Steel Assault on the Nintendo Switch. Don't forget to hit that like button if it helped you out. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the game and whether you're going to be picking it up in the comment section below, and if you've not already subscribed to the channel then please consider doing so. For now though, I want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.